President Trump has been vocal about wanting interest rates to go down. Problem for him is that the president does not control how or when interest rates change. That's left up to officials at the Federal Reserve, led by Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Now, a group called the Federal Open Market Committee makes the interest rate decisions within that group. It has 12 voting members, including 7 so-called governors. So these new governors, while they are nominated by the sitting president, they still have to be confirmed by Congress. Separation of powers here. That is happening right now with Stephen Miran, one of Trump's top economic advisors and Trump's pick to join that board of governors. Miran, as I get it correct on the second run, is facing a backlash, though, from some Democratic members of Congress who say that he could damage the board's independent structure after he said he wouldn't immediately resign from his White House role if confirmed. So he'd have 2 jobs, one political, one supposedly not. Here's a clip from yesterday.
But you can determine your own career. You know that, right?
No, yes, I know that.
And so you want to go back to the Council on Economic Advisors after this term. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know what will happen. You know, the term for which I've been nominated is 4.5 months. If I am nominated and confirmed for a longer term than just a handful of months, I would absolutely resign.
Joining us now to talk about all this is CBS News MoneyWatch correspondent Kelly O'Grady and CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Kelly, let's go to you first. What do you make about this maybe I'll have both jobs at once pitter-patter?
Yeah, you know, I think the important point that he just mentioned is if it were a longer term that he would be nominated for in the future. Remember, this particular term is up in January. That's when he would make that decision. But it really gets back to this question of independence at the Fed and why that is so important. You want, as you mentioned, the Board of Governors to be able to make decisions about inflation, about the labor market based on the data, not about influence from the White House. Because let's be honest, I don't care if you've got a Democrat or a Republican in the White House, if they're running for re-election, they're going to want to keep interest rates low and make sure that you and I can get a lower 30-year fixed mortgage or a lower car loan. And I just point to countries like an Argentina where the central bank isn't independent. There's less confidence in the economy, their currency, and they do have double-digit inflation.
All right, let's bring Weijia in here. Weijia, tell us a little bit about what Miran's role is at the White House and, you know, how that might create a conflict of interest.
So Stephen Miran is the chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, and this is supposed to be a nonpartisan group of economists that presents objective economic analysis and reports to President Trump so that he can make decisions with regard to policy. Now, it's a different group of economists than the National Council of Economic Advisors. That is the group that is charged with helping the president implement his economic policies, and they can be as political as they want. And so Miran's role is supposed to be the head of this nonpartisan objective group. But still, the reason why this is controversial, especially among Democrats, is because it is still a White House position. At the end of the day, he is still one of the president's most trusted advisors on the economy. So there is a lot of question about this gray area. Now, he has said that if he is confirmed for this short stint between now and January, he would be taking an unpaid leave of absence from his current post. That's not the same as leaving the job. So he would have one foot here at the White House, one foot in the Fed. And again, that's why there are so many questions.
Hey, Kelly, you know, one of the reasons everyday viewers might be interested in this is because business leaders or the overall economy could change, could be affected by a lack of independence at the Fed. So what are you hearing about what the broader impact of all this could be?
So you are going to see a huge impact if you're a consumer or a business leader from this nomination, right? I mean, it's going to be one more person in the room that wants interest rate cuts. But right now, we are expecting an interest rate cut come that meeting mid-September. I think the broader thing about the Fed independence, though, that's where you see the market get a little bit hairy because investors don't like to see that Fed independence questions. We have seen the market drop significantly when the president has made comments sort of to that sort of area. What I will say is, as a consumer, that does impact your 401k, because when you see investors trade based on the possibility that a Fed independence may be compromised, you could see that reflected in your retirement investments.
And Kelly, while we have you, the latest jobs report came out. What does it show?
It shows a slowing labor market. We added 22,000 jobs in August. That was versus what we expected to be 80,000. What I want to say is it's 4 months of slowdown. It is not great, but we are not in a recession. And so that, though, getting back to interest rates, that tells the Fed, it gives them the green light to cut in September.
All right. Kelly O'Grady and Weijia Jiang, thank you so much. That was today's By the Way.